Welcome back to the Traders Network. I'm Michael Yorba, your host. We're also streaming to you live on yorbamedia.com. My guest this segment is, and I am very impressed with this guy, Nick Santiago. He is the president and CEO of InTheMoneyStocks.com. This guy has nailed it so many times, it's starting to get scary. Nick, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me, Michael. Appreciate it.
I'm serious. I got goosebumps because you're really, really good. No, I mean, honestly, I listened to the segments that we've done previously to make sure I didn't get it wrong. But you're looking for some kind of a topping pattern coming in on some copper. We're right in the area where you're talking about it. Freeport-McMoRan, S&P tops, and now let's start off with the copper, or actually let's start off with the S&P because it's really a befuddling market for everybody, and then we can move into some of these other markets you're talking about.
Sure. Well, the S&P put that low in on October 4th. It was actually a double bottom on the S&P 500 E-mini futures chart. So we got that undercut low, and really, I got to be honest, the rally has gone up a little bit more than I thought we would see. In the short term, it really has been really robust, but the volume on the rally has been somewhat suspect, very, very light. In any case, maybe this market will have a little bit more upside to possibly the 123, 123.50 area on the spiders. That would be about the 1230, 1235 level on the cash S&P 500. But I really have to think that they're going to sell it off there. The institutions will take profits. A lot of this is going on with the dollar. If you notice the U.S. dollar index, we've sold off since October 5th, and since October 4th, since the dollar topped out, the market's been rallying. So basically, the dollar is the only thing that keeps this market in check. If the dollar falls, the market rallies higher. But I don't think there's all that much left in this S&P. I think maybe we'll get to it's possible to get to the 1230. I've already begun to short the market, so.
That's what I wanted to hear.
It's 1230. Yeah, I've already begun to short it. So I shorted it yesterday, really right at the highs of the day, and I'm sitting in it now.
Okay, all right. Now, Nevada wants me to get into your cycle work, but before we get into that, you're the one that gave me the heads up on this J.P. Morgan leading the move. We've got what could be, a one-day island top, if you will, from yesterday to a bearish Japanese candlestick sitting there today. Let's address that briefly and then move into your cycle work and then targets on the S&P for if we do turn here and we're all right.
Well, right now, if you look at just JP Morgan daily chart, we went right up into the 50-day moving average on the daily chart. And like you mentioned, we may have an island top or an island reversal there playing out. Today's move down after earnings is pretty ugly for JP Morgan, but even so, J.P. Morgan seems to lead all the financials. Today's volume is very, very good on the stock, really exceeding the prior volume. I have to say, probably over the entire month of October, even into mid-September. So that tells us we probably have further downside to go. The big level for J.P. Morgan is going to be right around $30. We get down to that level. J.P. Morgan could make new lows. I ultimately think it's going to. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when, as we're in this wide trading range for the most part. By some chance, if J.P. Morgan rallies up, and I think the max move on that thing would be a top around $35, $35.50. I just don't see any strength in these financials whatsoever right now. And as long as J.P. Morgan goes down, the rest of the ship goes down with it.
Yeah, banking index is also negative, but I don't want to spend too much time on all the intricacies without answering the audience question. Cycle time for the S&P.
Well, you're coming into the final quarter, so I think we're probably looking at, if we get a little bit more upside, we'll probably top out within the next couple of weeks.
Okay, and downside cycle time, any targets there?
You're probably going to retest the lows. We'll have to see how the pattern looks there. And then we could break the lows. But I have an end-of-year rally penciled in. So, sometime in the month of December, maybe first, second week, we'll be due for another big bounce around that point. But the 2012 outlook I've completed already. But I really believe that the market's it's going to be weak for a long time to come.
Okay, copper. Let's move on to copper.
Okay, we look at copper. Pretty weak today. I mean, those of you that don't have a copper future chart can easily just follow Freeport-McMoRan, and you'll see the stock's down 92 cents. Or you could follow ticker symbol JJC, which is the copper ETF, down about 52 cents. While the S&P has been able to clear and get back above the daily 50 moving average, if you notice the chart of Freeport-McMoRan, that has not been able to get above the 50 moving average. It's still sitting right on the 20 moving average, and that tells us that copper is very weak. As we all know, copper is the leading industrial metal. Without any movement in copper, it tells you there's really no expansion or no building going. There's not any kind of construction or major building projects going on around the world. China has led the market over the past 5-6 years. Their index also has been really, really weak, and that's all based off of copper. And we could basically just look at the copper chart, and I think we're looking at a one-year bear market. So any rallies in copper can be sold at any important resistance points.
Okay, now that brings up a question here. Looks like we got some kind of a topping pattern here, about 340 on the copper. Are you looking at a place right now where you think it's a good short, or do you want to give it a little bit?
I'm working on some copper levels at the moment, but I have to be honest. I think very shortly copper will start to move back down. I just don't see a lot of upside for it at all. I'm trying to pick out the best spot possible, so I'm working on my calculations. So if anybody comes to the website, maybe they'll be up tonight or tomorrow morning. But I'm working on copper calculations as we speak, both in cycle time and in price time.
Okay, give us a web address.
The web address is www.inthemoneystocks.com.
Okay, that's where they can find it.
If anybody comes and they mention Yorba sent me, meaning you, Michael, they'll receive a free week as well, an extra free week.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you.
All right, now let's move on to, do you want to talk about industrial metals or Apple or the tech sector?
Let's talk about Apple, because Apple really is really the catalyst for the NASDAQ 100. Right now, you've had a great move from the October 4th low on Apple. Apple seems like it has a little bit more upside. The volume trends on this up move have been very, very weak, and I think Apple is scheduled to report earnings next Tuesday, so could have a little bit of a run-up into there. At that point, I would be very, very cautious with Apple. Maybe it gets a pop after earnings, maybe it doesn't. I never know what earnings are going to do or how the market's going to react initially, but I will say this much. After earnings on Apple, I think the stock's going to start to be distributed.
Yeah, it looks kind of funny right now. I'm looking at it.
Yeah, if you look at that high that was put in basically on September 20th, that was our cycle top, in fact. Mm-hmm. The S&P has been able to get back up to the September 20th top. However, Apple has not. That's showing us weak relative strength already. And the volume on this move going up has been somewhat lackluster. Therefore, I think traders, maybe this thing trades up into that Tuesday earnings announcement, Tuesday afternoon. I believe that's October 18th. However, after that, traders better be very, very cautious with this stock. It looks like the professionals, I think, in my opinion, are going to start to feed this out to the public.
Okay. Now, just like J.P. Morgan, do you use Apple as a leading indicator for the tech sector? Sure.
Apple definitely is a leading indicator for the tech sector. Absolutely. And if you notice, Apple is not making new highs here, and that's something to be concerned about. If you take a look at the triple Qs or the PowerShares Qs Trust, you'll notice that is back up into the September 20th swing point, that pivot there that was made, the high made on September 20th, right around 57.35. Therefore, I think Apple is lagging, and it is susceptible to a sell-off right after earnings.
Okay, looks like a big range, but a big range-bound market where this might be a good place to start putting in some shorts. Are you waiting? You want to wait till Tuesday on that thing to see how? Yeah,
on Apple, I'm going to wait before I short it because I never like to short before earnings. Sometimes you get these big reactions one way or the other, and then they'll fade. So I think it's more of a gambler. I'm a trader. I like to put the odds in my favor. Trading before earnings announcement is a gamble. If you miss the move and you think it was going to go down, you could always just short the retrace. So again, I never like to put myself in front of the earnings announcement per se. However, the stock to me is showing me flashes of weakness across the board.
Now, are you working on any cycles for the tech sector or for Apple?
No, right now my main cycle is the S&P 500. I am working on a cycle for bonds.
Love to talk about the bonds. Let's go there.
Okay. Well, I am working on a cycle for that at the moment, and I'm coming up with very wacky readings. Usually I use 3 different formulas to get my cycles, and when they all come in a cluster or they come close to each other, I think that cycle is pretty significant. However, I'm getting 3 completely different readings. This has never happened before. And I think it has to do a lot with the operation, all the moves that the Fed must be doing, because I'm getting completely different readings, and I've actually stayed away from the bond market just for that reason.
Right, it's got everybody. I was just going to say, don't feel alone with getting wacky readings. All right, we're going to need to end it there, Nick. Tell everybody how they can get in contact with you and they can look over your shoulder while you're making these really good trades.
Sure. Come to InTheMoneyStocks.com or give us a call. Our number is 212-380-1578. We'll give you a 7-day free trial. If you mention you come from Yorba, Michael Yorba Radio, we'll give you an extra week free. Come give us a test drive, see what we're made out of.
All right, you guys go give them a test drive. I'm sure that you will be pleasantly surprised. Thanks, Nick.
Thank you, Michael, for having me. Have a great day.
You too. All right, everybody, that was Nick Santiago, President and CEO of InTheMoneyStocks.com.